Don't have a tripod for your laser level? Make a shallow slit into the drywall and place the angle grinder disc into the slot. Then set your level on top. We need our pipes fully insulated, including the elbow pipe. We'll simply cut both ends of the insulation at a 45-degree angle using a utility knife. Here's an interesting way to solder the ends of wires. First, we'll take out the soldering tip and replace it with a bolt and a bracket. We can stabilize our soldering iron. Now we can melt the solder into the bracket and then dip our wires into the solder directly. We can twist wires together nice and evenly by attaching a wooden dowel into a socket bit and then stick the wire into the wooden dowel. Secure the wires with pliers and drill. Cleaning the grout between tiles can be tedious. Here's an easy way to speed up the process. Cut off the head of a brush and drill a screw into its center. Tighten the screw into the chuck, and now the drill can do the scrubbing for us. If your jigsaw blade is dull, we can give it another use. Grind off the teeth with an angle grinder and then sharpen the edge like a knife. Attach it to a jigsaw, and now it can be used to cut cleanly through thick foam boards. The staple gun is a great and useful tool to have on the job, but ours happened to run out of staples a bit earlier than expected. That's okay. We can use an office stapler instead. We can use a rubber mallet to help fully drive the staples into the wood. Here's one way you can sharpen your pencil a bit faster, just using the help of a drill. Here we're going to use a wood clamp to help us mark parallel lines to the edge of the board. Unscrew the top and use the hole to make your mark. Next up is a DIY torque washer. Make 2 parallel incisions about halfway through both sides of a wide washer. Use a plier to bend the tines 90 degrees and then weld a nut onto the top of the washer. We can install it by hammering it in on one side and then securing it fully by screwing it in with a bolt. This is especially useful for building furniture. This water handle is broken. We can make a new handle using a cord on each side of the cord. Put each loop through the opposite loop, one under and one over, like so. Place the loop over the water bottle and pull it snug. Now we have an easy way to carry our water bottles. Anyone who's worked with wood knows that sanding can take a long time. Today, we'll try to speed up the process by making a sanding drum. By hot gluing a bolt to the center of this wooden dowel. Then we'll make a deep incision through the center of the dowel, and next we'll slide sandpaper into the incision, wrap it around, and glue the sandpaper onto itself. Now we have a sanding drum for all of our projects. Next, we're going to be making a homemade coffee grinder. We'll need 3 snap-off blades, snapped off to the correct size, an extra long bolt, and 4 nuts. Tighten the nuts to the end of the bolt with the blades in between. Make sure it's securely fastened so the blades stay put. Drill a hole into the center of the lid. Twist a nut to the center of the bolt and drop the washer on top of it. Place the lid over the washer and then another washer on top of the lid. Secure the whole thing with the final nut. Tighten the lid to the jar to make sure that the bolts can twist freely without any wobble. All that's left is to fill the jar with coffee beans and attach the bolt to the chuck and drill. Now we can brew a fresh cup of coffee to get our day started. Lastly, we'll be doing a bit of arts and crafts by making a simple decoration. Start by wrapping this wire tightly around this PVC pipe, then pulling it apart for the right shape. We'll bend the top into a little hook. Next, we'll hot glue a steel ball into the middle of our spring and let it dry. We'll tie a piece of string to the top end of the ornament.
Or use lemon juice to remove highlighter marks. By cutting off the top of this toothbrush, we can insert a jigsaw blade into the handle to make a handheld saw. To prevent cords from getting tangled, make a loop with this cord and wrap the rest of the cord around it. Insert the plug through the loop and pull it tight. We can even hang our tools like this. Levels are a valuable tool to have for all kinds of DIY projects. Today we'll be taking out the vials to attach to our drill. We'll place hot glue onto the back of the drill and press the vials down in a T shape. Now, as long as the table and board are leveled, the holes will be straight. If our wrench is too big for this smaller bolt, we can grind out a slot to fit the size of the smaller bolt. Weed whackers are probably some of the most finicky tools in the shed. To make a more permanent solution, let's make a few modifications. We can start by drilling holes around the outer housing to install the cable ties. We can also remove the guard blades. We can even use this modified version to clear away snow in the wintertime. To sew dowels by hand without a table, we can use a carpenter's square for support. This can work for both round and square dowels. Our next project will be a bit of woodworking. We will be connecting an end face with a crosspiece using a wedged mortise and tenon joint. This is an extremely strong joint that's even used to attach axe heads to their handles. We'll start by making our marks on both pieces using a pencil and a marking gouge. We are marking out a basic mortise and tenon joint. From here we'll cut out the tenon, making sure it's about 1/4 inch longer than our marking. Clean it up with a chisel. Then we'll mark out and drill 2 holes. Then saw from the end to the holes. These are the slots for the wedges. To make the mortise, use a drill to remove most of the wood. Then we can use a chisel to clean and even the edges. Now we'll make 1/4 inch marks on one side of the mortise to create tapered sides. Now we can make our wedges. We'll be using a different colored wood to create a distinct look. A vise and a chisel can help us to cut out the wedged shape. We'll need 2 pieces that are the same width and slots. Next, we'll add the glue on top of the joint and also to the sides of the wedges. Hammer in the wedges as deep as they'll go. Saw it flush, sand it, and apply some varnish for the finish. It can be difficult to cut a threaded bolt on the table. Instead, we can clamp a wrench into the vise and pass the bolt through the head. We need to sharpen our knife, so we'll be using this file instead of a sharpening stone. We can even attach the rod into our drill to help speed up the process. Now, when we go to cut the sponge, our knife is much sharper. Sometimes, when using a hole saw, the edges of the wood are too rough, so we need to go back and sand it. We can cut out a strip of sandpaper and attach it to the drill bit. Now, the edges are a bit smoother than before. To make a tool for scrubbing hard-to-reach places, remove the abrasive layer from a dish sponge and cut out small circles. From here, we'll attach these circles to a rivet. Attach the rivet to your Dremel, and now we can clean hard-to-reach places, clean up old tools. Here's a quick tip that can help make your job a little easier. We want to simply flatten the nozzle using a tube or anything else that you can find. Cut a small angle off and flatten nozzle and screw it back onto the canister. Now we'll get clean, even lines.